For the background of my collage, first I'm going to decorate with a little bit of oil pastel on a piece of construction paper. You don't really have to have any specific decorations in mind. I'm just kind of adding some loose areas of color because I think it'll make it look more interesting overall at the end. You could do a pattern if you want. You can just do random designs. The nice thing is, since we're working on colored paper, we don't have to color as intensely and directly as we usually do. I'm just kind of doing some random designs that I feel like doing with a more abstract idea behind it. I'm not drawing something in particular because a lot of this will get covered up with our snowflakes that we've cut out. So I'm just doing sort of random designs and sketchy lines. Yours could be totally different. I've got some random colors everywhere just to kind of make it a little more interesting and add variety. If you really want to even blend and blur it together, you could try using a small paper towel and just sort of add little circles to sort of soften the oil pastel lines. I was drawing lightly, so mine are working to soften. If you were pressing harder with the oil pastels, this might not change it at all. It really depends on the style that you're drawing and the style that you're trying to go for. When you're satisfied with your background, you can start to lay out your snowflakes and experiment with where you would want to put them. I think it's going to look nice if you choose to overlap them a little bit, but it's really your artwork, so you get to choose. Eventually, if there's any parts hanging off the edge, we may want to trim them, and I think that can look nice too if you intentionally recut them so that they match the edge of the paper, but it's about what you would like to achieve with your collage. Because sometimes it's okay that artworks look different or that we try something new and learn something when we try it. Before you glue any of your snowflakes, remember one side has these black lines and the area where you might have sketched a design, and one side is totally white. We want the white side to end up on the front, so I'm going to put glue on the side with these smaller black lines. When I'm applying glue, I do want to be very delicate. And I don't need to put glue everywhere. I can just put glue at critical points. I'm using liquid glue because I've found that that is one of the most long-lasting kinds of glue, and I'm applying it with a brush so I can get more precision than if I was squeezing it out of a bottle. So I'm especially putting glue, a dot in the middle and a dot on the outermost edges. Then I will very carefully want to glue my snowflake down. If I notice that there's spots that are likely to stick up, like these parts, because this snowflake has a lot of negative space, a lot of parts that were really cut out, I'm going to put just a bit of glue in some of those spots as well, just to hold it extra secure. And then before I glue it onto the background, I forgot to say you will want to write your name on the back. And when you're gluing your snowflake, you can be very careful and very intentional about where you're putting it. Once you've smoothed it down gently with your hand, it won't be so easy to change the position of the snowflake. So you want to try to place it in the correct spot the first time. So I'm gently making sure I'm pressing down the spots where I had those glue dots. It can be just a little bit messy, but this is good practice. And then I can work on gluing my next snowflake. I can decide if I want it to overlap or where I want it to be. Maybe I want to do a snowflake that sort of overlaps in the corner or something. There's lots of options. There's no right or wrong way to do it. When you've glued your snowflakes, it might look something like this, and then we'll want to put it aside to dry. When your picture is dry, you can get a pair of scissors and very, very, very carefully line up your scissors with the edge of the background and start to trim away any extra parts of the snowflake that are hanging over the edge. Notice I'm doing this slowly so that I can be my most careful artist self. When you've trimmed away the edges, it might look something like this, and you can even take a look if the extra pieces of your snowflakes fit anywhere around the edge that you would want to add them. You can glue them down to fill in any extra little spaces, or if you have any extra time, you could even make a mini snowflake or two for extra spaces as well. That's another thing you can do if you finish ahead of others. I'm excited to see your snowflake collages.